The Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry says that if we reduce penalty rates for workers, more jobs will be available. I'm joined by Ewan Haddon, who's the Industrial Relations Correspondent for the Australian Union. A long argument from business. Does it really work?
Well, they've had a breakthrough last month where they succeeded for the first time in years in getting penalty rates on a Sunday cut for some workers. So they've been buoyed by that, so now they're going to push the Fair Work Commission to try and increase penalty rates on a Sunday in particular where they're quite high, and they're going to go back to the Fair Work Commission and try and do that.
Right. So what's the economics behind this? I mean, it's been a long argument that if you cut wages, there'll be more people hired. I mean, is that really borne out?
Well, the Fair Work Commission repeatedly over the years has rejected that argument. They say that people should be paid extra for working Sunday, that it cuts into family time, social time, and so there should be a premium on that for working that shift. Business says that it costs too much to employ those people on a Sunday. Often they're young people, they're inexperienced. So by paying them less, they are arguably creating more jobs and they're able to put more people on. At the moment, they say because of the cost of employing people, they have to work themselves, and thereby they're not creating any jobs.
What was the rationale behind the Fair Work Commission's decision to actually cut penalty rates on a Sunday from 35 to 30?
Well, it applied in the restaurant and catering sector, so it applied to a small group of people who are young people who actually attract a sort of significant payment. They get a casual payment, so it only applies to young people who work casual hours. So for example, a worker would normally get $20 an hour. On a Sunday, they get paid $30 an hour, but those workers were getting an extra 25% casual loading, so they were getting $35 an hour. The Fair Work Commission said they're being overcompensated for that payment, so it should be brought back. So the employers have jumped on that and said, okay, it should be expanded further.
So where to from here? Because the Commission of Audit said that they reckon the minimum wage should be scrapped effectively, or at least competitive between the various states. The ACTU says that'll push things back down to $12, say 1998 values. I mean, what's the likelihood of business getting through a reduction in the minimum wage at least?
Well, they won't get through a reduction in the minimum wage. There's two cases going on. There's an award review which looks at penalty rates. There's also a minimum wage review which is coming up soon. The ACTU wants a $27 increase. The employers generally want an $8 to $10 increase.
This is over each week?
That's right.
Yep.
They want that. The penalty rates is a different argument. That'll be run through a award review through the Commission, which is coming up soon, which will be done industry by industry.
And what do you think the government's likely to want to do in terms of pushing this?
Well, the government in the past, Tony Abbott, Abbott, the Employment Minister, have been on the record as suggesting that the penalty rates are too high, but in the current environment, they're not going to want to go near it. They don't want to be seen post the budget to be somehow supporting a further decrease in the pay of workers.
But we are facing an issue of employment, right? So, I mean, there is a strong argument to be made that if we're seeing an increase in unemployment, that something should be done to help that. I'm sure businesses are saying, cut those rates and we'll put more people on.
Well, that's right. So business will argue that to cut the pay, that'll allow them to put more people on, but consistently the Commission has rejected that argument and saying there's not sufficient evidence, not sufficient economic data to back that case up. So really they have to do more work in providing the analysis and the studies to do that.
Of course, the other thing is whether the Fair Work Commission will hang around. Work Choices was dead, buried and cremated, but an alternative is to create a new commission rather than the one that was created under Labor, right?
Well, that's right. The government at the moment is considering the creation of a new tribunal to sit over the top of the Fair Work Commission. Opponents of that proposition say this is designed to actually by the employers, supported by the employers and by the government, to somehow get up a case to cut penalty rates. Abbott gave evidence yesterday before the Senate where he was very careful about what the government was going to do. So it's unclear at the moment whether they would proceed with that. Would also have to get through the Senate, which is unlikely.
Ewan Haddon, thanks very much.
Thank you.